And then I'll go dark after Jim, after intro.
Sorry, what?
I'll go dark after the intro.
Oh.
Morning, we'll get started here in a couple of minutes. While you're waiting, we'll go ahead and open up your Q&A pod. And just so you know, the chat pod will not be active, but if we have a message for you, we may use that. So you might want to open that one as well. We'll give folks another 30 seconds or so to log in. Hopefully our folks who are downstate didn't get too much snow, but if they did, well, hopefully you're dealing okay with it. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. Good morning. My name's David Orr. I'm the director here with the New York State LTAP Center up here at the Cornell Local Roads program in Ithaca. And welcome to one of our foundational webinars. We got about 4 or 5 more to go before we start our in-person workshop season. Today we're going to be talking about finding, retaining, and motivating employees, because we know that workforce development, filling your staff, having a good staff is absolutely key to getting your job done. Our instructor today is going to be Jim Sheridan, who was, how long were you with the university before you retired?
The university for 19 years.
19 years. Okay.
Yeah, previous to that, I'd worked in the industry and financial services, similar work that I did at Cornell.
Cool. So Jim is going to lead us on this. He also teaches our communications class. If you're interested, it's really useful to help you understand how to not say that thing you shouldn't say, or say it in a polite way that people are happy and walk away happy. With that, Jim, I'm going to let you get started. But again, please open up your Q&A pod. We'll use that to communicate back and forth with each other. And you're going to start it with some polls, right? Okay.
Correct. Amanda's going to run those polls for us.
Yep.
First up, we have, where do you work? State or federal, the county, town, village, city, tribal. I forgot to add for the weekend, as David likes to put in his polls. You can throw that in the Q&A if you like.
Well, there's always somebody working for the weekend.
Always working for the weekend, yeah.
Of course, everybody's singing that song in their head now.
Yeah.
Like we have a good mix today. Mostly towns, which I like to see.
Yeah.
Right. Our
Terrific.
next question is biggest concern. What is your biggest concern within today's topic? Finding employees, retaining employees, motivating employees.
Well, this should be a fun one.
Right. Looks like a little bit of both again. 50% says finding employees, 15% retaining employees, and 35% motivating employees.
All right.
And then our last question, age group. From the list below, what age group do most of your employees fit into? 25 and under, 26 to 35, 36 to 45, 46 to 55, 56 to 65, and over 65. It looks like we have a mix through the middle. So mostly 41% is 36 to 45. Then we have 27, for both 26 to 35 and 46 to 55, and a few 56 to 65.
Wow. So good, little bell curve there.
Yeah, nice bell curve. Not too surprising, really. Good to see those numbers. And I really appreciate everyone sharing that information with me. Excellent. All right, then. So with those polls in mind, we're here looking at finding, retaining, and motivating employees. And as I was given the topic, I was talking to Dave a little bit and to Melissa and a couple other folks around this. I was trying to figure out, how do we actually get this information to make it useful? Because for everyone, and whether you're working in a county or a federal level or a village level, the answers to some of these might be a little bit different. And what I know is true is it's different than it used to be. I'm up here in Syracuse, New York. When I was very active in the Syracuse area, trying to find people to hire, I would just simply put ads in the newspaper, and everybody in town had a newspaper, and then responses to the newspaper would get you employees or people that you could choose to be your employees. And that certainly is not the case anymore. I think the Syracuse newspapers are only on the news or delivered 3 days a week up here now, and aren't all that much available. So the old ways of finding people aren't what's working. And it's interesting to break out these topics between finding, retaining, and motivating employees, because I think that they are all related to one another, especially in today's way of finding people. If you have an organization that has a good reputation, it'll be easier to find people. If you have an office or a garage or a department that runs smoothly and people feel good in, they're going to be motivated. They're going to want to stay, and they're going to tell their friends to come and work there. So I think one of the overriding commonalities across all three of these topics today is that the culture you build has to be inviting and respectful and challenging and rewarding for people. And so we're going to look at these in the 3 different categories, but I want you to kind of pay attention to how one of these categories impacts the other. And frankly, up front here, I'm going to let you know that retaining and motivating are very much related to one another, perhaps even more than the finding piece of that. So let's, I'm wondering if anyone has any questions, even before we start to look at some of the content that I've got to share with you today. So if you do have a question, put it in the chat or the question portal, and at any point I will entertain those. Any questions at this point?
Not yet.
All right. Well, people are wondering what we're going to talk about, so let's do that. All right. So my screen is not advancing. There we go. All right. So I have several slides which lay out ways of finding people, and I'm going to go quickly through and then back and forth. So you can ask your current employees to spread the word, partner with nonprofits, recognize great talent when you see it and do something about that, add a career page to your website, coordinate with unemployment offices, connect with the various schools, different school levels that you might have in your community, create now hiring flyers and do some online ads, host a career fair, and partner with other community organizations. So let's go back. Ask your current employees to spread the word. So if you have a well-running garage, and things are going smoothly, and people like working there, people like each other, and they like the challenges you bring, this is the quickest and easiest way to get more people to come work for you. So ask your people, tell your friends and your relatives and people you encounter about our workplace and how we do things and what we're about. When they enjoy that, they're going to be much more relatable to telling their friends to come work in your garage. So if you have a lot of employees, then your reach is even farther than if you only have a few employees. But it is a good way to reach people that you would be interested in having brought in. And there's really no cost to this. Some organizations will, have a little incentive to get people to talk about their organization and bring people in, but you really can just do a word of mouth and have that work out really well. And this is what I love about the word of mouth and asking your employees to be your recruiters, if you will. Usually, your people are only going to recommend good candidates to come and work for you. they're not going to want to work with any slouches. They're not going to want to bring anyone in who's not willing to work hard and who won't be a good fit, emotionally with your team. And so go ahead and ask your current people to spread the word on when you are looking to hire. Partner with nonprofits. I just have a couple examples here. Veteran organizations, groups that are servicing immigrants, other social services agencies, churches. Go and meet with the leadership in each of those groups and try to establish partnerships. Go, whatever other nonprofit groups are in your community, go and talk to them and even when you're not exactly hiring, but go and talk to them and build a partnership around helping each other. And when you do need some help with having new people come into your workplace, they'd be good places to go, and you've already created that partnership. Share what you do, what the different jobs are, typically, what kind of people skills you're looking for, what kind of attitudes you want people to bring, and talk with those nonprofits in a way that you're going to be helping each other. And again, as we go along here, if you have a question, please indicate that, and we'll entertain them at any point. Recognizing great talent when you see it. So when you're out and about, when you're at a restaurant, when you're working out in the community and you encounter someone, set ahead, there we go. Look for people that have the skills and traits that you would like to have in your organization. Talk to them about the jobs that you have, what you do, what your purpose is, how what your organization does impacts the community in a positive way. And you can do it very conversationally. And you can even say, I'd like to talk to you about opportunities that we have. Give them your card, give them your contact information, invite them to come in for an interview, invite them to come in for an informational interview, invite them to just come in and chat to learn more about what it is you do. And, ask them right out. Don't hint, ask, would you be willing to come and talk about, working with us? If you see someone who's good, I think they deserve to know that you're interested in them, and you deserve to have someone who's you consider to be good come and talk about things a little further, so you know if there was a good match. This relates a little bit to the one where you have your people that are already working with you be your best ambassadors. You can do this. You see great talent, you go ask them to come and talk to you. Your employees see great talent, they can also do that same kind of recruiting. If you have a website, adding a careers page to your website is a really good idea. When people are looking for contacting their town and they pull up the town website and it has information about the town and it has information about Parks Department or the Highway Department, and they want to explore that, they start looking around and see what's there, and then they find out, oh, we have the job section, oh, they're hiring here, oh, this is the kind of work they do. So you want to put it out there as much as you can. Here's what we do in our area. Here's what we have available. We'd love to come and have you come and talk to us. So sometimes people are actually just curious about what's going on, and sometimes they're actually job hunting. And so if you have a spot on your website for the jobs that are available, it will show up in a search that someone's just doing randomly. It's also a great place to describe more and more about what your department does. If you have a mission statement or a purpose statement, here's what we do, here's how we contribute to the high quality of life in our town or in our village or our county, wherever we are. Let people know your purpose and mission and the value you bring and how you go about that. And then talk about what you're looking for in potential employees. This is what we need. And generally, it's going to be around high quality teamwork, collaboration work kinds of folks. So if you don't have a careers page on your website, I would strongly recommend that you work with the folks who build those websites to make that happen. So coordinating with state and local unemployment offices. Having a relationship with those groups in an active way, in a partnership type of way, helps them send people your way. And also you can easily call up and say, hey, who have you got in the pipeline? And if you're working with them, they know what you're looking for, what type of individuals you'd like to bring on. And they can tell you who's available. Contacting with different educational institutions, high schools, community colleges, universities. Most of them have some type of career office. I think many of us know that New York State high schools don't tend to sing the praises of working for the town, working for a highway department. And I think it's because many of the schools are, well, there's probably a couple of reasons. One, the state focuses on getting college degrees and having high academic types of things. And they kind of missed the boat, in my opinion, on really good, strong work jobs where people can create things, build things, make things better. And I think that highway folks can make a relationship with particularly high schools and community college guidance people and career people to let them know the many positive aspects of the work that you all do for your communities, and help them see the matches that there could be so many matches between the students they're bringing out of their schools and the jobs that you have and the ability to serve the communities. And so I think you could do a service for the students as well as for your community, as well as for these educational institutions, to let them know the high level of satisfaction people can get from doing their work. Community colleges are more likely to have a career placement type of office, and generally they're set up to serve the communities in which they're located. And so they should be, and generally are, receptive to having conversations around creating partnership around the types of jobs you have and getting you some good candidates. Universities similarly will have career offices. They may just not be aware of the exciting careers that could be available across the spectrum of the work that you do. So partnering, talking to them, helping set up a mutually useful relationship, I think, can go a long way. The now hiring flyers, I really, I like this idea, and this works with particularly younger folks. So I remember when I was in college, you'd see apartment for rent, and there'd be a flyer, and it would tell you the address and a picture of the house, maybe, and then at the bottom, little tear-off phone number types of things. You could do that with these. Put them on community bulletin boards. Talk about your job you have available. Talk about the qualifications you're looking for. Have a little contact thing that people can tear off, and you know who the contact point will be. Hang those on bulletin boards around town, in the post office, in the grocery store, in the back of the churches, wherever people congregate, cafes, diners, club places, where, you know, Masonic temples, those types of places. Similarly with car windshields, you can put these flyers. They can be 8.5 by 11 right off your duplicating machine or off your printer, and put them on people's windshields when they're at the grocery store. We're hiring people. Here's who to contact. Here's what the job is. Come and call us. Come and stop in. Very effective in your community to be able to do that. You can go to the next community over and do it as well. And you know, many of them will, you know, be recycled, and many of them, I think at the national numbers on this are about, they have about a 20%, 22% return rate on questions for when people were interested in following up. That's, I think, kind of high, given today's, you know, relatively low unemployment records. Unemployment it's not a helpful thing when you're trying to find people, because most people have a good situation. But putting those now hiring flyers out and about in the community is actually more effective than I had imagined when I started doing research on this. Online ads. So online groups like Indeed, Indeed has a no-cost way of utilizing Indeed. They also have one where it costs. Some of the research on this showed that um, the no-cost Indeed isn't quite as good or nearly as good as the one you pay for. The cost of doing Indeed compared very favorably to other like Monster and other types of official job boards, if you will. Craigslist charges a little bit, but it's much less. I think it's like $35 or so. And they also tend to be, Craigslist is pretty effective because in Craigslist, you put your job up there and it's generally people are looking in their local community at those jobs. And so they already know a little bit about the community. They can kind of picture where the garage is, if you will, and will be likely to respond. So Craigslist has a low cost and a pretty good response rate for people who are looking for work. And Facebook is another way of getting out there. It's recommended that you have a Facebook page. So you're going to want to talk to your town supervisors or town boards to find out their stance on things like Facebook and social media posting. But having a Facebook presence is very useful in terms of communicating with your community and around various topics, as well as when you're looking to bring people on board. And there are many other social media outlets that you can get a sense of when you're making those partnerships with the high schools and community colleges. You can ask those folks what social media are people, students, if you will, using the most, and then try to get onto social media. Wherever you're listing on social media, it's a good idea to list pros of the job and sell the job from the standpoint of what's really great about it, but also the downsides. Things like tell people this position requires off hours or overnight hours, or requires call-in time, or requires certain abilities, requires certain licenses, certain skills are needed. So tell the whole story on there so that you're only hearing from people who would actually be qualified to do the job. So online ads are really are where most people are looking. They're starting to look. And turned out to be very successful. All right. Something I don't think a lot of organizations do. I think they don't do this, hosting a career fair. And what I've seen other small communities do is they might join in with partnering with other community organizations. So I put these on the same page because you could host your own career fair, or you could partner with other community organizations around their open houses and run your own little open house or career fair with that. I know in Salve here where I live, the fire department has an open house twice a year, and our highway department goes to that and has a table set up, and information is shared that way. But you could host your own fair depending on how large you are, and let the community know through all the outlets we talked about before that you're looking for folks and that you're going to maybe do a quick interview, maybe not hiring level yet, but quick interview to do some screening and talk to people and get their information and get a sense of whether you want to bring them back for another interview. I think you probably heard me say several times, partnering. It's no longer where you sit back and grab a few thousand people and bring them in and choose the best one all on your own. You're going to want to do a lot of networking, a lot of partnering, a lot of building relationships in your community to help you get more people, because word of mouth and all the ways that look like word of mouth are going to be still the best way for you to find folks to come work with you. So what ideas have you done, or have you seen or heard about, or what other ideas do you have that you could share with everyone to add to these or to build on some of these? Let's take a couple minutes to have you write that down, and we'll hear, once we had a couple minutes go by, what you came up with.
We have one response, Jim. It says reaching out to schools in our areas. Another one says festivals, job boosts, library community boards, online
Oh.
searches.
Those are all excellent. And yeah, that makes perfect sense. People see those, and actually, if you can put a little flash in, if you're posting things on a community bulletin board, you know, I'm kind of black and white, but that doesn't attract attention. So it's some kind of a eye-catching thing to get people to read those. So those are all excellent ideas. Thanks for listing those. Anyone else? Any more come up?
Nothing right now.
Okay. Very good. All right. So a thing that we need to emphasize around finding, you can find people, if you can, in this low unemployment environment, find people and have them decide to join you. This finding was, I think, most of you listed finding as your reason for showing up today. Finding is not easy, and it's a lot. It can be expensive if you're spending money on it. It's certainly expensive in the time you invest in it. And once you find them and get them on board, you really want to retain them. You want to keep them because you don't want to go through all the finding again. It's too labor intensive and too emotionally draining, I think, to keep doing those kinds of searches. So as we talk about retaining and we talk about motivation, I'd like you to keep in mind, if I do these things well, then I won't have to do as much finding. I'd also like you to keep in mind, if I do these things well, finding will be easier because word of mouth will be better about our organization, and people will want to join based on what we bring to, and what we do and how we do it. So let's look at retaining. And these are scientifically proven ways to retain employees, things that really do matter. Some of them matter more than others. But these things have proven to be the reason people will stay in an organization. And while I think we're going to talk about money in this list, while money is important, you need to be competitive. You probably are quite sure already or aware already that the environment in which people work and how they work together and how they feel when they're at work is the main reason people will stay in a job or leave a job. So scientifically proven ways: make your department a pleasant place to be a respectful, honest, and supportive manager, give them room to grow, weed out poor performers, offer employee rewards, offer a competitive base salary or hourly wage, and do some recognition. Build trust, listen to people with purpose, and give frequent feedback. So make your department a pleasant place to be. Set up and communicate clear expectations. Know what the job is, have the jobs be clear. When you're giving instructions, give excellent instructions that are very clear and people can draw a picture of what it is you're expecting when you're done. What's a good product look like? What does it look like when this job is well done? How long do I want you to spend on this? How long should it take? What tools do you use? And so on. Be very clear about what your expectations are. Be clear that they understand the expectations, and then trust them to go out and do the work. Well-kept and updated tools, good equipment, up-to-date, useful technology that helps improve people's lives. The feeling people have when they're at work is part of that pleasant place to be kind of thing. And so, you know, you'd rather go every day to someplace pleasant rather than not so pleasant. So,
Jim?
Yeah.
We have a comment here that says people now want remote opportunities.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in terms of flexibility. That commenter is correct, and it's not always easy in your line of work to give remote opportunities. You can't say I'm going to plow roads from home, and so that's when we talked earlier about in the finding people. You know, tell what the job is. Well, when it snows, you have to leave your house and go plow snow. One thing that's different today and more apparent since COVID hit, is that there are things we can do from a remote location. And so if you can make some things happen from remote locations, that clearly is a way of retaining people. So don't just do old fashioned, well, I had to do it this way. And I always went to the, the garage every day and reported, and then we did this. And there are other ways of doing work. So what parts need to be done? And you can't be flexible about remote work, and what parts do you have to show up for? And I think it's that person who raised a really good point. You're going to want to relook at jobs if you have a kind of a 7-year-old way of looking at structuring the work. You need to revisit that. Thank you for that. Be respectful, honest, and supportive. So if you're a manager, it's your job to set up that environment where people are respected. They feel respected. They respect you. They respect each other. You create an environment where respect for each other drives your work. That you're honest, which also helps show respect and build trust. You're going to be supportive of that person when they've made a mistake, when they have a new idea. You're going to listen. You're going to try to understand. You're going to correct when needed. You're going to back them up when someone else gives them a hard time about something. Support is very important. People want to know you've got their back. And going along with clear communications, just that clear expectation setting, clear sharing of information, and letting people know the things that they need to know to be able to do their job well. Give the people room to grow. Help, if you create a development mindset, if you create an idea that in our garage, we give people opportunity to learn and grow and do new things and learn new things, take on new responsibilities, get them ready for the next thing. That shifts people's thinking from going to my job. I have a job, which is, fine, except for those who are going to be retained longer, feel like they have a career. And there's a difference in tone there. I have a job, good. I have a job, great. I have a career, that gives me a sense of longevity and purpose, and that I'm important in the overall picture of things. Give them on-the-job training, clear, concise, on the job. Here's how we do things, with feedback on how well they've done it, and with recognition. Hey, that was exactly right. Keep that up. That's recognition. Give them that information, and also outside training. Now, you all are very aware of the opportunities that David's office brings, and I cannot encourage enough that you take advantage of that for yourself and for all the people in your organization. You would do well, I think, to partner with this office to set up a training program for each person where they go right through that roadmaster and get those skills, and get not just the skills, but the sense that you see them in the long term being worth developing. And we're going to talk at the end of our time today around millennials in particular. And this is something that's very important to that millennial group. Also, though, while we have, about 41% or so people in that 36 to 45, which is more of a Gen X group, Gen Xers are very similar in their desire for growth and development. So give people room to grow in their work. Weeding out poor performers, can't tell you how important this is. People want to work with productive colleagues who pull their weight. And people will leave the organization if poor performers or people with lousy attitudes are tolerated. And you're only as good as your lowest denominator, your worst worker, who has a corrosive effect on your teams, on your ability to retain people, on a corrosive effect on your relationships with your community. So you need to weed out poor performers. This is not easy. I'm not saying it's, boom, just do it. You need to know what's expected, and you need to know how people are doing against what's expected. You have to expect, obviously, technically, that people are doing the correct work in the proper way, using the tools properly, paying attention to all the specific aspects of performance of a job or doing a task. But you also need to have a sense of what are our social ways of interacting with each other. Is everyone treating each other with respect? Are they communicating with each other well? Are they treating people well? So how you treat people is also an aspect here, because you can be really super great at a technical aspect of a task, but be a jerk. And the jerk will bring your whole team down every time. So weed out poor performers, because if you don't, your good performers will leave. And particularly in a low unemployment environment, there are going to be opportunities for them to leave. And frankly, there are places that can pay more. And so someone will say, why am I putting up with this when I can earn more somewhere else and not be subject to these negative things from these poor performers? So when someone's performance is not up to par, you need to teach them what it takes to be up to par, give them an opportunity to do what you're expecting, and be successful. If they can't do that, you need to figure out how to get them to let them know there's another job for them somewhere else. I wish them luck in finding it. Offer employees rewards, no cost and low cost. Recognition, I'll talk about new or interesting assignments and promotions. So you don't have to, people like money, but you don't have to give them money. People like things that don't cost much and things that are pretty simple. Good job yesterday, Dave. You know, when you did that, that helped us all. Boom. Really liked how you handled that irate citizen. You calmed him right down. I can't believe how quickly you did that. Thanks. Something maybe at a tailgate talk, you're helping them, see what each other does and how they value that. So you don't have to really spend money. Mentioning someone every once in a while that's done good work. Hey, everybody. Maria did a really good job yesterday on this, and let's all give her a hand. Boom. Recognition doesn't have to cost anything. You can also give new or interesting assignments to people who are performing well, doing things well. Give them something that they haven't done before. Give them something they need to learn a new thing about. Give them something they're interested in that they might be a little bit outside their job description. Those are also not only good ways of recognizing and rewarding people, but they're also good ways of developing people. And so they'll go hand in hand. And where you can give promotions, give promotions. If you have a track, a career track or a job position track where there is a progression, let people know what it takes to progress and give people due recognition. And when they have created and done all the things they need to do to meet those requirements, give those promotions. Those are some ways you can reward employees. So some of them cost money, but most things you do every day are felt as rewarding, especially when you do them from the honest heart. So we did talk about money. People like money. They need money. No one should go to work and have to say, it's okay, treat me terrible, and but I get to do interesting work. You need to pay them. And so most jobs are competitively priced and paid. So just pay attention to that all the time. Because unemployment's relatively low, you're going to have more competition for your people. Other people are out talking to your people saying, oh, hey, where do you work? Oh, I have this job. And just like I'm asking you to do, they're doing the same thing. And while money isn't everything, it does matter. And so don't let money be the reason people leave unless it's a really good reason. In other words, you provided all of the pleasant work environment, you've made things trustful and respectful, and it really is just a great opportunity for people. And when it's a great opportunity for someone, well, good for them, and you should congratulate them. But keep your salaries competitive, and when you feel like they're not, talk to the people that you need to talk to in your municipality to see what you can do to change those and make them better. And then the power of appreciation, that whole recognition. We've talked about it a little bit already, but little things like awards and shout outs, anything else you could think of that would be considered recognition. And when we move into talking about motivation, knowing what people consider recognition and what kind of recognition they would like to receive is useful. But done well, morale and motivation go way up when you're recognizing people, recognizing what they bring, what they do, how they matter, why they're important to your team. When you're doing recognition correctly and you have those things happening, every person, especially those who are recognized, will increase or maintain their productivity, and others who see others being recognized will start to see what it takes to get recognition, and then their productivity can increase. You'll also have better safety records because it shows what you're paying attention to. The whole team hears that you do care if you're wearing your helmet or you've got your ear protection on or your vest on, whatever it is you're looking for in the safety area, that goes up as well. And also, when you show value to people and you show that you notice what they do and what they're bringing, that creates more loyalty to your organization. More loyalty then creates more people willing to go talk to their friends and relatives and people that they meet around coming to work in your organization. Building trust, listening with purpose, and giving feedback. Trust is, I probably should have started with trust. Trust is critical. Do you have people who are trusting and trustworthy? Are you trusting and trustworthy? Do you demonstrate that you're trusting and that you're trustworthy? How do you do that? You tell the truth. You let people know what you know about situations. Sometimes higher ups will have conversations around things and you're involved in those. And then your team will say, what's going on up there? And, you let them know much about that as you can. Share information, share the truth about information. If you can't give all the information, you have to say, well, there is some conversation about that. I can't really talk about it right now. I promise you when I can, I will. Goes a long way to that, shows that you are trusting and trustworthy. People will trust you to finally tell them when you can tell them. Give people stretch assignments. It's coming up again. Newer work, interesting work, stretch assignments. Show that you're trusting them. Give them the training, give them the questions and answers that they need in order to know something, or coaching them through it when they're learning a new skill and demonstrating that new skill on the job. That shows like, oh, they gave me more responsibility. They believe I can do this, so I'm going to give it my best. And trusting, trustworthy. And then wherever you can, build in flexibility. So again, going back to our conversation earlier around, hey, this job's always been this way. You always come in and you always do this, and you try. We can say, is there a day a week or every couple of weeks where someone could do this certain jobs from elsewhere? Could they work at home? Do they have to have these hours, or could they have a different set of hours? Those kind of things in flexibility build trust, because in the old days, we'd all say, if you're not here and I can't watch you, then I don't know you're doing the work. Not very trusting. I know you're going to go do the work. I'm not going to check in on you as much. When I say you can work from a remote location, I know you're going to do what you're supposed to do. Builds trust. And when they perform it, let them know you recognize it. And then they know that that they did the work, and you know that they did the work. Trusting, trustworthy, trust relationship happen. Listening is a critical skill. You need to listen for information, listen for how people are feeling, let people say what they're feeling and what their information is, paraphrase those things, give people the floor. Don't correct them in the middle of their conversation. Don't stop and tell them why they're wrong. Don't stop and tell them your story about that. But listen, get the whole picture, get the whole understanding. And if there's something that they're giving you that you can use, thank them for that. So you're going to want to listen actively. When it's important to do that, you're going to want to listen for how people are feeling about things and recognize that. And in doing that, sometimes it's just that people want to know you're a place they can go and talk about something. You will listen. And when you can make a change based on what you heard, do that. If you can't make a change or aren't sure, communicate. I really don't think I can change that. Here's why. I can look into that. I don't hold out a lot of hope, but let me see. You know, letting people know that you heard them, that you took it in, that you're considering it, and listen. But also listen to just understand each person. What is their interest? What do they like? What do they like to do? What gets them excited? What are the drivers in their life? Because that relates to motivation and getting a sense of what helps each person want to come to work and do the work that they do. Give frequent feedback. I firmly believe this. Most people are doing good work. They want to do a good job. They come and do a good job. There are a lot of opportunities for you to let them know that they're doing a good job. So let them know when you see people doing good work. Often people feel like they're only going to get feedback, and frankly, it's kind of true when they're not doing well. And you will get a lot more mileage out of telling people when they're doing well than when they're not doing well. But don't not tell them when they're not doing well. Let them know when their work needs correction, when they have to get back on track, when they're not quite there, and let them know what the gap is and how to fill the gap, and offer that support and coaching to help them fill that gap. Millennials, Gen Xers, more than baby boomers, like frequent feedback. They want to hear how it's going. As a member of the baby boomer generation, I saw many of us who would say, no news is good news. I'm not hearing anything, I must be doing well. That's not the case for millennials in particular, Gen Xers also, and that's really the bulk of who you told me is in your organizations. And so they like to get feedback. They want to know how it's going. They want to know when they're doing well. They want to know when they're not doing well. And it's only fair when someone's not doing well to tell them so that they can correct that and get on track with doing well. That's why I give feedback. So we talked about several things that build an environment of work, and I call them retaining, but actually these are all things that if you build them into your organization and how you do work and how you assign work and how you pay attention to people, you're going to do a good job of retaining. But I'm wondering what questions you have or what you think. So let's pause for a minute to give you a chance to write anything you'd like in the question area. It sounds like nothing's showing up yet, so maybe you don't have questions.
There's nothing yet, Jim.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead then. You can always add something at any point, no problem. So motivation. So this is a picture I took when I was going to a Syracuse football game last fall. And I'm wondering, just looking at this picture, what do you think motivates these people? And I got to tell you, I know 3 people in this picture, so I know a little bit about what might motivate them. I can make up a story that they're all motivated to go to a football game. They like sports, perhaps. Maybe they like Syracuse football. But I don't really know. I don't know what motivates anyone here. I can make up an assumption. I could say, well, these are generally people probably late 20s to early 40s. So they want this. And there are plenty of studies out there about generations that'll give you information about what generations want. And at the same time, I don't think groups are motivated. I think individuals get motivated to go do things or be around things. And sometimes it shows up as a crowd. And so don't know what motivates these folks. And I'm
Jim?
worried about the stories I would make up. Go ahead. Yes.
Sorry about that. We do have a couple of answers to your question about the picture. One said spirit and being part of a team, and the other
Nice.
one said doing something with others that they have in common.
Those are both great, right? Spirit, being part of a team, doing something in common with others. They're in this together. Thank you for that. That is the really good general guess about what's going on here, because why would you go unless you had that thing going for you? I know that the guy in the hard hat, if you ever see Syracuse newspapers, that's my son's friend, Jeff. And Jeff is one of the, with my son, one of 4 guys who sat in the end zone, wore those helmets to every Syracuse football game, and truly felt that they were helping the team win by their cheering and by their presence and by getting the crowd going. And so I know that Jeff's motivation, sure, have a good time, do things with others, but he also wanted to have a big impact on helping the team, the Syracuse University football team, win. And he had some better seasons than others, I will say. So we can't look at groups as a crowd and say, we know what motivates them. Look how old they are. They want to work. They don't want to work. I can't get, you make it up, you're going to get it wrong. So I'm going to encourage you to consider motivation from an angle I learned about probably 40 years ago. It makes great sense to me even today. 1, decide or recognize that you can't motivate anyone. Can't motivate anyone. Now that sounds kind of tough, because if you're a supervisor of some sort, you're a foreman, you're a manager, you're a superintendent, and you're thinking, I got to motivate people. I got to get them going. In fact, they told me I got to motivate them. And it really was a relief for me when I found out I really can't motivate anyone. Oh dear, did we lose some slides? Yes.
Jim, just while you're looking through the slides, we do have someone that posted, be positive and supportive can uplift and change the atmosphere to encourage motivation.
That's outstanding. Yes, fully agree with that. Let's see what happened to my slides here. Oh well, they're gone. Oh, there they are. Okay. One of my slides got out of place. So back to slideshow from current slide. So you can't motivate anyone. People do things for their own reasons, not yours. So can't motivate anyone. Just recognize that people do things for their own reasons, not yours. So I could go back and say to everyone that I work with, you should go to the Syracuse game with me. Look at all these people. They're dedicated and want to have fun. You will love it. You should go. You should love going to Syracuse football games. Yeah, well, I hate football. Yeah, no, you should go. It's really good. Yeah, but I don't enjoy sports. So they're going to go to the game for their own reason. I really like hanging out with my friends. They have really good beer there. I really like a crowd. Whatever their reason for maybe going to that game, it might not be the same as your reason. So know what other people's reasons are. You can't motivate them, but they will do things for their own reasons. You can help people do the work of your organization for their reasons. So that means you need to learn what you can about your employees' reasons and try to provide what helps them be motivated to meet organization needs. And that's the hard part, because you can't look at people as a crowd of people. You can't look at all your employees and say, all my employees are this, because all your employees are not. You've got 15 employees, you got 15 different sets of reasons. You've got 12 employees, 12 sets of reasons. 40 employees, 40 sets of reasons. And so if you want to build in motivation, you need to help people know clearly what the job is and help them connect to it for their own reasons. So I remember years ago when I was a school teacher, elementary school teacher, I ran I thought I'd motivate my students, my 4th graders, into doing really well in their spelling tests. And so I instituted that anyone who got 80% or more would get a Snickers bar, my favorite candy bar. And I didn't quite understand why that didn't motivate people to really study harder. There are only 10 words a week. Those 10 words, not really hard. It's 4th grade. And so it didn't seem to get anyone going, and particularly Jeff, another Jeff, Jeff Neal. Jeff was pretty smart kid, but he didn't really care to do well on the test. And I asked him about it, and he said, I don't like Snickers bars. My mother won't let me have candy. I'm like, oh, all right. Things I put out there to motivate you did not motivate you. So what do you like? Well, I like to go to the library and get a book. Oh, okay. So that was a little easier for Jeff Neal. I set up time for him to go to the library and get a book. Super simple example, but it was a true story. But what is it that your people want? What would help them connect to doing the work that they have to do for you? So what is motivation? It's people's desire to do something. How do you increase them in their willingness and desire to do something? Help them connect to why it's important. And so how is your organization important to your village, your town, your county? How is it important? What does it do? And how does that link to what's important to your person? Have those conversations, get a sense of that. Or, as I mentioned in the listening section, just listen to people and get a sense of it from what you hear when you're listening to them. So if you create an environment where people will stay, then probably you're creating an environment where people will be motivated. If you're paying attention to what individuals need and providing that as much as possible, they're probably going to stay. So motivation is up to each individual and you to pay attention. Now, this is some things I just wanted to pass on as we wrap up our time together. A study I referenced in looking at the most recent data said that 75% of the workforce is going to be millennials by 2025. That's just next year. And then the statistics you showed earlier in our time together today, we're skewed more toward Gen Xers, but Gen Xers a little less than, but mostly with millennials, they're digital natives. That means that they don't think twice about doing something on their phone, using data, using information, using computers, using technology. I'm still when someone says, hey, let me give you my phone number. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me find a pen. I did that once and the person said, well, just call me, just let me call you. And then my number will be on your phone and I'll have your number. Okay. So, there's a lot of ways to do that. I was at a seminar and I was I had my pen out. I'm scribbling all the things around the really good slide down. And then kid next to me was taking pictures on his phone of the slide. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it. He wondered why I was writing everything down when he could just take a picture of the slide. Digital natives. Millennials value these things. And it's interesting, while it's true for millennials, I'd like you to consider how much is pretty much true for almost anyone. They like to know the purpose for their work. How am I helping the community? How am I making things better? They like teamwork and collaboration. They like open communication. They want to be able to make connections with each other, connections with others. Flexibility built in, as we talked about. They want feedback. They don't want just good news. They want to hear the hard things, and they also want to get the good news. So this is things they value. Now, millennials value it more directly than previous generations. Gen Xers do this a little bit, but this is the millennials. And 5 years from now, your workforce will look different, and it'll mostly be people that came out of these areas. So what questions do you have as we wrap up our time today?
Doesn't look like they have any questions for you, Jim.
All right. Well, if you do have questions at some point, they can get them to you and you can send them to me and I can get them back, or however you want to do that. We can do that in the future. But I'd like to thank everyone for coming in and sticking around as long as you did. And I hope you found some helpful information.
Thank you, Jim. And on that note, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and see you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, man, and Jody and David. Good to see you. Take care, man.